Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, we're going to get to work on the chassis today, actually doing some cutting. I don't know about welding, but we're going to do what we can. And we're going to kind of change things up a little bit thanks to you guys. Now, I asked for a lot of comments and ideas on the last time we were mocking it up in wood, and I got a ton of them. Thank you so much. I got emails sent to me, pictures, links, suggestions, warnings, what to look for, and it really helped me out a lot. I really appreciate it. So we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to kind of stay with the same design, but move some stuff around because of what you guys told me. So let's go ahead and jump in. We'll take a quick tour. Obviously it's up on the rotisserie. You got it back from the sandblaster, and I actually treated it with phosphoric acid so it won't rust. So let's take a quick look at it and then kind of talk about what we need to knock out for today. All right, before we go any farther, this is what it looked like on the car trailer when I got it home. It looked really good. Some spots here and there weren't perfect, but it came out really nice, so I'm pretty happy. So then I moved it over onto some plastic right underneath the carport, and I sprayed it all down with Ospo. One of my subscribers recommended that to me a long time ago, and so I sprayed it all down inside and out, flipped it over, sprayed everything again, and then I try to wipe all the extra out so it it didn't leave any marks or puddles or anywhere. But it came out really good, and it hasn't rusted, as you can see. So we had one monstrous storm, did some damage on the property. I had to stop what I was doing, get the chainsaw out, but got that cleaned up, and now we're looking good. So it's up on the rotisserie. Had a little comical event last night while I was getting everything ready. I didn't have it balanced very well, and I was sitting on one of the arms trying to release the pin. I got the pin released, and it spun around and kind of jammed me up into the garage door there in the ceiling. It was kind of funny, but I don't want to do it again. But the frame looks really good. Obviously, some of these welds aren't so good. There's a lot of undercutting and some other stuff going on, so we're going to obviously grind and clean stuff up, because I mean, it was just stuck together. They didn't care. And the only real damage I see is caused by me. You can see a tear right there and that big dent, and you see some scrape marks. That's from the trailer of me dragging it off. But we're going to try to get that repaired. I'm trying to pull that back up or cut that out and repair it. I don't like that tear like that. That's not good. But everywhere else, it looks pretty good. I've done a little bit of minor straightening here and there, but all in all, it came out really well. It's upside down right now, so I sprayed everything and treated everything and tried to wipe it down really good. So that's after that Ospo was wiped on it, which is basically phosphoric acid and something else, and it basically arrested it. It's used to wipe rusty metal off before you paint, I guess. You put it on there, let it dry, and then you can spray an oil-based paint over the top of it. They don't really recommend it for epoxy, underneath epoxy, but I don't know, we're probably going to test it and see if we can spray epoxy over the top of it. But it's all looking really good, and I've already started some work because I had to do the drawings for the side plates, the ones that go right over there. Now, if you notice, that plate's gone already, and that is now flat all the way across the top, where this one, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this rises up and falls. So let me switch sides real quick and I'll show you what we got to do first. Okay, first things first is we want to make this side look like this side. So I took that hump out of there. I don't know why. Now this is actually the top, this is the bottom since we're upside down. This is going to stay, this is where the body sits, and this is the bottom of the car. So they put this kind of hoop-de-doo in here and made this plate longer. I'm not quite sure, but we're cutting that out anyways and making this solid. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and flatten that out. So let me grab the grinder, see if I can cut these welds back, get that off there, and flatten that out real quick. All right, all we got to do is clean up these welds that are left, and then we can start working on flattening this out so this stays completely flat straight through here. Okay, this is what we need to flatten out right here, and you can see we've got some waves in it over here from being old. So could have bottomed out somewhere, been pulled up somewhere else. So I got a string here to help me out, and what we'll do is we're just going to start bending on this stuff to try to get it all to match the string. Real easy, probably just put a crescent wrench on here and just, pry down on it and try to get this to look nice and straight. And this will take a little bit more work, but it'll be a lot of the same thing. Maybe some hammer and a dolly on that one, just like we did on the other side. Okay, to try to flatten this out, we just got a piece of 1x1 clamped on here to give us some leverage to pull. Just use a pipe wrench on the flat part that we want it to come down to, and just give it some beams right there. I'm going to switch over, do the other side. We'll just work back and forth, and then we'll see if we can't dolly that flat. Okay, that got us part of the way there. We're down a little bit lower, still got a hump right here. So I'm going to get a dolly in there and try to see if we can't hammer this flat. All right, we got that pretty good. Let's go and give it a try with a hammer and dolly. Lost my string, but it's starting to flatten out. All right, I'm going to whale away on this thing a little bit more, and I'll bring you back once we get it halfway straight. Okay, we got that looking pretty good. Not perfect, but once we get those side plates to box that in, we'll be able to use that to help get that nice and straight. But all we have left is this little piece over here. So let's I think just crescent wrenches and just pulling on it a little bit should do the trick. I'm just going to slip a crescent wrench in here to hold up, and then we'll just use the pipe wrench, kind of just pull down a little bit and work our way down. All right, we're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of tedious work to get this nice and straight, but I'll bring you back when it's all done. We'll get this all cleaned up, and this side will be done. All right, we got that looking pretty good. Like I said, once we get those side plates on there, it's going to help us get that nice and straight once it's tacked up. Let's move on to this kind of a hole right here. That needs to get patched in for sure. So we got to get rid of some of those welds, grind off the other welds that didn't get off, and then figure out some way of cutting and making a patch to fit that. All right, we got that cleaned up real nice. I went and got the props from Dave. I borrowed those from Dave so we could hold this thing up nice and flat. So now we just need to figure out where we want to cut. How much we want to cut out? So they welded all the way to here and it's kind of bent up. So I think we might make this patch a little bit bigger than I was thinking I want to make it. But I think it's just going to be easier in the long run because it's really bent up and jagged inside here. So let me find a piece of steel, and then we're going to kind of lay out exactly how big a patch we're going to get on here. All right, we got that cleaned up pretty good. I was able to hammer this out. I drove a punch back through here to drive this out where it was all dented in, so that cleaned up really nice. So what I'd like to do is cut it right here and then cut it right here. Got a little bit of a tear right here. We're going to stop drill that and weld that in once we get this cut up and all straightened up and everything. But I got a piece of construction paper here, and I think this is just about what we need right here. I want to keep it as small as possible. It's got a little bit of a radius, and then we're going to have to tip this edge because this is pretty screwed up here. So let me go ahead and cut a piece of steel. I found something that's a little thicker than this, but not too much thicker, and I think it'll work out fine. So let me cut that, and then we'll hold it up here. We'll scribe it to this, and then make the frame match the patch instead of the other way around. I keep telling myself it's not a quarter panel, it's not a fender, it's just a frame, so don't go overboard. So hopefully I can hold to that. Let me cut that out, and I'll be right back. All right, I got a piece cut, and it's looking pretty good. I put a little bend in it, just a couple of, put it in the vise. Nothing, doesn't have to be perfect. So it's looking actually pretty good. So the next step I think I want to do is try to tip this edge over and make this radius, because you can tell we got a lot of material missing. I just don't want to fill that up with a weld. So I think what I'll do is go to the bandsaw and put a couple little kerfs in here to help me bend that over. Then when I weld it, they'll all be welded shut. We'll get that, and then we can mark this, chop this out, and get this to fit in here and get it tacked into place. Okay, you can see all the curves in there. I probably should have done this before I made the radius to match, but it is what it is. We'll deal with it. So I just want to hammer these over. All right, that did the job. I think that'll meet us about halfway. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll meet you back over at the chassis. All right, it's not a work of art, but I think it'll get the job done. So it fits up here pretty good. The radius looks pretty good. So I think we're going to be able to patch this in real nice. So I think the next step, get some Sharpie on here, scribe a line, make the cuts at least on the side, get this to lay in a little bit, and then we can make this cut on the top, and then we can start worrying about this side of it. But yeah, let's get the sides cut, and then we'll get this one cut in. All right, guys, I got that cut, and then I went ahead and got it all fitted off camera. It's just, you know, you've seen me do it with sheet metal before. It's just a lot of back and forth fitting it in there. And it came out really nice. I think it's going to work out really good. Down here, we're going to have to get a little creative with the welding. Had some of the radius, but not all of it, but we'll work that out later. I don't want to tack this in place or weld it or anything because we're going to try to put some conduit in here for the battery cable, and having that hole open right there may come in handy. So we're going to move over to the cross member in the front, see if we can get this repaired before we get any farther on anything else. I want to try to get as many repairs done before we start adding stuff. So this dent right here in this tear, I don't know the best way to get it out. We could cut this out and make a patch and put it in there, but I really don't want to go to that extent. I'd rather leave this, this original sheet metal or steel here. There is a hole on the other side right here, but it's so far over I don't think I could get enough leverage to push and hammer that up. So I think we need to flip this thing over, drill a hole on the exact opposite side of that, not too big of a hole, get a punch through there and see if we can't drive that up, and then hammer it flat and then get that welded in. So let's flip this thing over, see what we can do. All right, you can see the bigger hole, but there's just no way to get any leverage on it, you know, to knock that dent out. So I think I've got the location marked right over the top of the worst of it, and I've got a selection of punches and a piece of drill rod and some other stuff. We're going to obviously want to stay as small hole as possible, and then we may have to work our way up if it doesn't want to come out. Now, back in the day when I was younger, I was very reluctant to do any destructive things to make any repairs. But, you know, you just have to realize sometimes you have to drill a hole or cut a hole and then just patch it later. You know, it's just the best way to do it. So let me get the drill over here. We'll drill a hole and start hammering on that thing, see what we can do. All right, I drilled that a little bit bigger than I wanted, but I can see the crack down inside there, so I think I got the location right. Got a couple of punches that should reach down in there pretty good. Got the hammer and gloves, and got the props underneath so it won't be bouncing. And I think I want to put the camera down there facing up with the monitor so I can kind of keep track of how I'm doing. But yeah, let's just start hammering on this thing, see if we can knock that big old dent out. All right, well, I can see that pretty good. Let's see what happens here. Boy. That metal is stiff. It don't want to move. I don't know, guys. That ain't wanting to move very much. Boy, I must have hit something hard to bend it like that. All right, I'm going to keep wailing away at this. See what happens. We may have to just cut this out and repair it, or even just cut a little patch that'll lay down inside of it and weld it. But yeah, I'm not giving up hammering it out. Let me give it a try, and I'll bring you guys back. Whew. All right, guys. It looks pretty pimply now, but I got it pushed out decent, I think. Let's just flip this frame over and try to hammer that flat the best we can, and then we'll just get that crack welded up, grind it all smooth. Well, it looks a little bumpy, but I think we can smooth it out a little bit better than that, get that crack closed up. Alright, well that looks better-ish, I guess. So we have this crack to weld up right here. It's a little low right here. I could not hammer that out. I couldn't get a good angle on it. And this stuff is really, I thought it was a little thinner than it is. It did not want to move. So it looks better. So we're going to weld that up, maybe lay a little weld in here and here just to smooth this off a little bit. There are a lot of welds on the frame that need to be touched up a little bit, ground and smoothed off. maybe re-welded it here and there, but I think it'll be all right. All right, we got that dent kind of taken out and that crack all prepped, so when we start welding, we can weld all that up and grind it smooth. Let's move on to the conduit for the battery cable. So I measured it out. It's going to be about 11 feet from basically the battery to the starter. So I'm going to have to run 2-aught cable. I don't want to go any smaller because the starter is going to pull over 200 amps, maybe 220, 250 amps, and I really need to run 2-aught cable. So I've got some 3/4 inch conduit. Dave had a couple of short pieces. I do have some 1-inch, not conduit, but 1-inch tubing, but it's kind of thick wall. And I need to do this in 2 pieces anyways, because I got to put a bend through here and then a bend over here, so there's just no way to get it inside the frame doing it that way. One other thing to take in consideration is this body mount right here. So we have to be able to drop this through, because remember, this will be sealed off. So we have to drop this through, get it on there, and then get a washer through, and then get that on there and put the bolt in. So I'm pretty sure the conduit's going to need to be on the bottom here. The frame's upside down right now, so that's something to consider. But for right now, I think I want to cut these lower control arms off, mounting locations, just to get it out of the way, because I want to really have that conduit exit right over here somewhere and then just kind of go up. And I need to make sure I stay clear of this hole. We're going to put different mounts on here, so we're going to need some room. So hopefully we can keep that conduit back over to the side, just kind of make it a straight run with a little bit of a bend and just come out right here. I don't know. We're also going to have to cut this out. So let's quit talking. I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to cut that off. It needs to come off anyways, just to get it out of the way and make this a little easier. All right, all we gotta do is grind those welds off, and that's all cleaned up. Okay, we got both of those trailing arm brackets out of the way, got them ground and sanded up real nice, so that's ready to go when we get to that point. But now we got to figure out how to get this conduit from basically over here all the way through there and pop out the other side. So I've got a piece of 1/4 inch copper tubing laying up here. I keep a lot of this old stuff laying around. It helps me mock up brake lines, fuel lines, and battery conduit, I guess. So here's another body mount. Of course, we already talked about the other body mount over there. And here's where the trailing arm bracket mounts. So I really don't want it right up against there, because I'm thinking this may have a slot in it with adjustable locations for the lower trailing arm, but I'm not sure. So yeah, I kind of want to keep the line away from that, but away from that. And then we got to fit it down through here. I don't want to cut this out just yet, if we can slide it up underneath there and make it work. So yeah, I think what we want to do is just kind of bend this copper, try to fit it up through here so it makes a good, kind of gradual line, and then try to put the bends in the conduit itself and see if we can kind of fit it up through here and see what's going to happen. Okay, I got it bent. I don't have a 3/4 inch conduit bender, but I used my 1/2 inch and I did a good enough job, I guess. So it looks like it's landing everywhere I want. I think it could go that way a little bit more, but I just don't think I can get it in there. So I try to slide, just the copper up underneath there and make it work, but I think we're gonna have to slice this off and get that piece out of there, give me a lot more wiggle room. Later, we can always weld a gusset back inside there once we get it in. Plus, like I said, it's gonna be boxed in, so I'm not worried about it. So let me go grab the plasma cutter, that little best arc we just tried out the other day, and we'll cut that out and then see if we can't slide that piece of conduit in there. Yeah, that little plasma cutter's working out really good. So if I keep it up towards the top, which is actually the bottom, it feels like it wants to go in. And then I can touch it. It's just right here, right at this hole, just right there. So I think if we oblong this hole so it can come out at an angle, then all we have to do is weld around it and then cut it off flush, deburr it, and we'll be just about done. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think it'll miss the mount right here if we get this in the right position. Once it comes out this hole, we can finish getting it to swing around the corner here. I think that'll work out pretty good. I think. Yeah, let me mess with this a little bit. I think we're going to cut a little bit bigger hole right here and then see if we can get this to come out right there. Okay, just about an hour later, about 20 bends, just little tiny bends at a time. It doesn't look anything like what we started with, but I got it. So it does everything I wanted it to do. It comes out of here at an angle, so we can cut that off, weld it. It clears this bolt hole. It's way over here out of the way. It also clears this, the body mount. As you can see right there, we can get that grommet down up through there, washer and a bolt, and tighten the body down to the chassis. And then it comes right through the center right here, just like that. So now all we have to do is make this one right here that'll come along, go through here, have a bend, and then come out over here, maybe in this slot, I'm not sure. Once again, there's another body mount right there, so they're all landing right where I need to be, but I think we'll figure it out. All right, well, I screwed up my piece of conduit trying to make this tight of a bend, so I went and bought one real quick. We'll just have to make a little metal coupler to join these together. We already have to join it together right here. There's no way to put this together in one piece anyway, so yeah, I was going to go ahead and have it exit right there, but what I think I want to do is have that point down a little bit, which is actually up, and we're just going to open this hole that's already existing right here, and that way it's going to miss. It'll miss both body mounts, no problem. Not trying to get way over here, just terminate it right here and have the cable come up and go right to the starter. So let me drill this out and see if we can get this piece shoehorned around over to there, then we'll figure out how big to make that hole. But yeah, I think that's a good plan. All right, that looks pretty good. I got this end. Figure out this hole over here. I'll do that off camera. May have to stick my head in there with a plasma cutter to get that hole where I want it. But it's looking pretty good right there. I like it. All right, I got it in there, and believe it or not, my drill fit in here. I put it in here at the fat spot, and the handle part was right through here, and it drilled it out. The poor thing is pretty hot right now, though. That was a big hole to drill. But it's looking really good. It's fitting right around here perfectly. We're going to weld that in. That's going to look great. And we'll just use a coupling there and there. So let me get to work making some couplings real quick. All right, got them in there. Just a piece of 1 inch. I split it, took some of it out of the middle and kind of crimped it around there. So we're just going to tack that on. I got this one in place as well. And we're ready to start welding. I need to deburr some stuff and double check a few things, and then we'll get the welder out. All right, guys, I got everything deburred and ready to go. You can see a hose clamp on there. That is just to hold that coupling tight, while I'm just going to kind of tack it on the tips where I split it, just to kind of pull it all together. I don't want to burn in. I don't want to cause any problems on the inside that may affect the cable. So I got both ends ready to go, so let's grab the welder and get this thing in here. All right, that should hold it. We just need to hold it in place. It doesn't have to be waterproof. All right, let's go ahead and get this one welded. Don't have to worry about burning in because we can put a burr tool in there and clean it up. All right, I'm gonna let that cool a little bit. We're gonna come back and cut that off so I can get down inside here. So let's switch to the other end. All right, that feels pretty good. Let's take a look at them. All right, all done. A little bit of a low spot right there. I'm not gonna weld that in and try to grind it smooth. It's not that big a deal. Nice and smooth so it won't cut the cable on the way out. This one looks really just as good. So I think this is gonna work out really good. So I got a piece of air hose here that's just about the exact same, maybe a little bit bigger than the battery cable I'm gonna use. So let's shove this in and see how it does. Going in pretty easy. All right, it works. All right, battery cable conduit, all done. Okay guys, the last thing I think we can fit in for today is getting this patch in. So I could just tack it in and then wait till we get it back on the ground, held flat, and then full weld it, or I could get it in right now. I don't really think it's going to warp or damage the chassis, but I want to err on the side of caution, so I'll tack it in place and then just take my time, weld a little bit, move around, let it cool, weld, move, and let it cool. So let's just bust this out real quick, and that way it'll be off our list. All right, that looks like about it. Let's get some grinding done, see how it looked. We're gonna have to finish this piece later when I flip the chassis over, because we have to tip that over to meet that other piece of steel, and I can't see it upside down. All right, got it all ground up. It's looking really good. Can't hardly even tell there was a big old jagged hole right there. It's looking really good. I think that's it for the day. Let's wrap it up. Okay guys, that pretty much wraps up this video on getting the chassis ready for the side reinforcing plates. We got this area flattened out, cleaned up really nice, got the battery cable conduit in. Quite a bit of work to get that in there, but I think it's well worth it. It came out really nice. There's some repairs that I caused years ago, and a big old janky hole we had to weld in. I've got quite a bit of work also off camera, a lot of splatter. You guys saw some of these welds and some of this other stuff. I just want to clean it up and make it that much easier to paint. Not necessarily needed to be done, but it just makes it easier to paint. And a few hours in here with a grinder and a sanding disc, I think it's well worth it. Now, hopefully the side reinforcing plates will be cut really soon. That's probably the next time you're going to see the chassis. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.